Welcome to Flash Cinema Recaps. Today we're diving into the horror film Countdown. Imagine you downloading an app by accident, only to find it's more dangerous than you could have ever imagined. It all begins in an American city, where a group of college friends is having a great time at a night party. Some are playing cards around a table, and when it's Kate's turn, they notice she's deeply focused on her phone. She's looking at an app called Countdown, designed to help people track their diets. Another girl hears about it and decides to find the app, but she ends up accidentally downloading a different app with the same name. This app is no ordinary app. It displays how much time a person has left to live, down to the years, months, days, even hours. As a game, all the friends decide to download it, agreeing that the person with the least time left will lose. Though Courtney is hesitant, she eventually gives in after some encouragement. Once they check, everyone's time is set for years, except for Courtney, who has only 3 hours left. Naturally, she's spooked, but her friends assure her it's all just a joke. After the party, Courtney heads out with her boyfriend Evan, who's far too intoxicated to drive safely. Not wanting to tempt fate, she decides to walk home instead. Evan, irritated, speeds off alone. Courtney, now on foot, notices a man in a black coat tailing her. Then, a notification from the app pops up. She has only 7 minutes left. She rushes home, locks herself in the bathroom, and tries to turn off her phone, but it powers on by itself and reopens the app. When the countdown hits 0, something pulls Courtney up toward the ceiling and kills her, leaving her body in the bathtub. Simultaneously, Evan's car crashes into a tree, sparing his life, but crushing the seat where Courtney would have been. The story then shifts to a nurse named Quinn in a hospital. A patient, Evan, has escaped from his room, haunted by Courtney's death, which he claims happened exactly as the app predicted. When Quinn finds him in an empty room, he confesses that he's afraid. According to the app, he has only 19 hours left. Later, Quinn joins the head nurse Amy, who's arranged a party to celebrate Quinn's secure position at the hospital. While they eat cake, Quinn recounts Evan's experience with the Countdown app, and some of her co-workers download it too, including Dr. Sullivan. He's relieved. His app says he'll live to 90. The party continues until an unconscious woman is brought in. In a rush, Dr. Sullivan and the nurses revive her, saving her life. After this strange night, Quinn left the hospital, only to get a push notification urging her to download the Countdown app. She shrugged, thinking, why not? And went ahead accepting all the terms without even reading them. But when her countdown showed just 2 days left, a sense of dread settled over her. Feeling anxious, she decided to visit her parents' house to look for some important papers. The room was empty, but she felt a strange presence. Moving cautiously, she opened the closet door and found her younger sister, Jordan, hiding with her boyfriend. Heart pounding, Quinn tried talking to them, but Jordan quickly locked herself in her room. Just then, their dad, Charlie, arrived, still grieving the recent loss of his wife. He mentioned he'd be visiting her grave the next day and invited Quinn to come along. Meanwhile, back at the hospital, Evan's countdown neared 0, and his heartbeat skyrocketed. With only 3 minutes left, he bolted from his room. A warning popped up on his phone, saying he'd broken the app's terms, but he ignored it, running until he reached a mirror in the hallway. He froze at the sight of a dark, shadowy figure behind him. The mirror shattered, and he fled to the emergency exit, flashlight in hand. He saw what appeared to be Courtney standing by the staircase door, but as she turned, he realized she was a ghost. In a horrifying instant, she attacked him, throwing him from the hospital roof to his death. When Quinn arrived at the hospital later, the news of Evan's death shook her, sparking even more fear. She took Evan's phone from his room, and after using his face to unlock it, confirmed her worst suspicion. The Countdown app timer had hit 0 at the exact moment he died. Now, her own countdown was down to 1 day, and she was supposed to visit her mother's grave with her father. Rattled, she called her dad, saying she couldn't make it. Instantly, she got a message from the app warning her she'd violated its terms. The app's rule was chillingly clear. Anyone who altered their routine to avoid their countdown faced a deadly intervention. Despite her fear, she tried to focus on her work, but Dr. Sullivan noticed her distress and attempted to comfort her. He suddenly kissed her, and Quinn pulled back, shaken, rushing to tell Amy. But before she could, Dr. Sullivan interrupted, calling Amy away. At home, Quinn decided to investigate the Countdown app, finding details about Courtney and Evan's experiences. Most people dismissed the stories as urban legends, but she knew better. When she closed her laptop, Evan's ghost appeared before her, sending her into a panic as she fumbled for the light. He disappeared, but a message from the app warned she'd broken the terms again. In frustration, she threw her phone, cracking the screen, but the countdown continued, ticking ever closer to zero. With only a day left, Quinn decided to buy a new phone, hoping it would free her from the Countdown app. But as soon as she powered it on, there it was, pre-installed and impossible to delete. In shock, she sat in her car and checked the rearview mirror, only to glimpse a dark figure standing behind her. Turning around, she saw nothing but felt a jolt of fear. As she began driving, a hand suddenly covered her mouth from behind, and she barely avoided a collision. The other driver stepped out, fuming, but just then, a man from the phone store appeared, diffusing the tension and introducing himself as Matt. Matt explained he'd overheard her at the store and revealed he, too, had downloaded the app and was facing similar terrors. Desperate for answers, they went to a nearby bar, convinced that these deaths couldn't just be coincidental. Matt suggested the dark figure haunting Quinn might be the one causing the deaths. Recalling a priest at the hospital, they decided to seek his advice. The priest, understanding their situation, directed them to a man who specialized in confronting such malevolent spirits. As they planned to meet this expert, Quinn got an urgent call from Amy. Meanwhile, Matt went to the restroom. While in the stall, he suddenly heard a boy's feet shuffling outside, accompanied by faint sobbing. He asked the boy to leave, but after Matt stepped out to wash his hands, the sobbing boy seemed to move from stall to stall, then vanished. Suddenly, the lights flickered, and a door creaked open. The boy appeared and attacked Matt, who fought back fiercely until the boy disappeared again. Back at the hospital, Amy led Quinn to the meeting room. Dr. Sullivan claimed Quinn had tried to make advances toward him. Furious and humiliated, Quinn argued that it was Dr. Sullivan who had harassed her. But no one believed her, and she left, frustrated and angry. Quinn and Matt finally went to meet John, a respected priest. After a moment of thought, John explained that they were dealing with a demon named Ozin. According to legend, a prince was once told by an astrologer the exact moment of his death. In an attempt to cheat fate, he took extreme measures to avoid it, unwittingly awakening the Ozin demon, who ultimately claimed his life. John believed that the Countdown app was a modern version of this ancient curse. Out of options, they decided to hack the app to disrupt its hold on them. Remembering Derek from the phone store, Quinn and Matt went to him for help. And fortunately, Derek managed to break into the app's code. Now, with access to the Countdown app, Quinn, Matt, and Derek were able to manipulate their timers at will. Quinn took a deep breath and extended her own time, and to her surprise, she noticed her sister Jordan's name on the list as well. Derek added 50 years to Quinn, Jordan, and Matt's timers. Relieved, they felt a momentary sense of safety from the clutches of Ozin. Later, Quinn and Matt returned to her home, where they shared the stories behind their decisions to download the app. Matt revealed that he lost his younger brother a few years back, which left him haunted by the fear of death. When he heard about the app, he was curious to know his own remaining time. Quinn then opened up about her mother's tragic death in a car accident while searching for her at a party. Sharing their sorrows brought them a profound sense of peace, momentarily easing their fears. However, a few hours later, Quinn felt a strange presence approaching her. She sensed a hand on her stomach and assumed it was Matt's. But when she turned around, she found the real Matt standing in the doorway. The hand gripping her belonged to Ozin. The demon's hold on her intensified as it attacked her viciously. Matt quickly rushed in, managing to wrest Quinn away from the demon's grasp. They checked the app, only to discover that their timers had reverted, leaving them with just a few hours left. Panic surged through Quinn as she feared for her sister Jordan, suspecting that Ozin might target her next. She immediately tried calling Jordan, but her phone was with their grandmother. Sneaking into her grandmother's room to grab it, Jordan suddenly felt a chilling hand on her shoulder. She turned around, but found no one there. Glancing at her phone, she saw her own timer ticking down rapidly. Before she could call Quinn, the house lights flickered and went out. Terrified, Jordan dove under her bed, her heart racing as she stared at the door. Suddenly, she heard her deceased mother's voice, and the bed above her began shifting on its own. In a fit of terror, she caught sight of her mother's ghostly figure and bolted for the door, crashing into Quinn, who had arrived with Matt. The three of them quickly fled to Father John's house, desperate for help. They explained to John that their plan to hack the app had failed and that Ozin was still hunting them. While reviewing the hacked code of the app, John noticed a line referring to